also physically. So scripture and science go hand in hand. Today I have a special treat for you because we're stepping into a world of faith and fun. As I was just chatting with our guest, I said, yes, I may know science, but I don't always know how to make it fun. So today our guest is bringing the fun. He's an award-winning author, family science enthusiast, Brock Eastman, and he is best known for his imaginative books like Faith and Science with Dr. Fizzlebop and the beloved Quest for Truth series. And Brock is on a mission to show kids how God's creativity is revealed through science. And from bedtime stories to backyard experiments, he is sparking curiosity in kids of all ages. So grab your safety goggles if you want and get ready to be inspired and have some fun. If you are watching our live stream on YouTube or on Facebook or on the streaming platform for American Family Radio, you'll see he's joining us from his lab. And welcome, Dr. Fizzlebop. Welcome, Brock. We're so glad to have you here.
Hey, thank you. I'm excited to join you, and it was fun meeting you in Houston, and now we're here on the show together. So I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
That's right. We both got to serve at the same parenting conference, and that's where I learned we both have a heart to equip parents. We meet parents all over who really want to engage with their kids, but we need creative resources. And so I'm sure, Brock, that growing up, you didn't think, oh, I want to grow up and I'm going to be Dr. Fizzlebop when I grow up. How did your life story bring you to this platform of ministry? Tell us about you.
Oh, that's a great question. We can be here for a few hours if you want to for that conversation.
No,
I'll keep. You're ready. You're in. It's interesting. Growing up, what I like to tell kids when I go to speak, and parents too, and it will unpack a lot in this hour we've got together. But reading, writing. I like science and math. I didn't actually like reading and writing a lot, and so a lot of times I get from kids about being an author. Like, how many books did you write? Like, I didn't read or write anything until I was in college and challenged by my future wife to read something. That's when I started reading and then decided to write. But I always liked science and I always liked math, and I was fairly good at it. And I went to school actually I was the first second grader, in my school that could spell paleontologist. I wanted to be a paleontologist. And you can see me, I'm wearing a dinosaur shirt. And to this day, I love dinosaurs, so I want to be a paleontologist. And then I got a little older, it's like second, third grade, and you really know what you want to do. And I moved into middle school, I'm like, I don't know if I want to spend. I watched a movie that showed the opening scene of this paleontologist out in the desert. He's, rushing off some dust from bones. Like, I want to do that. That doesn't look very fun. But this is not chasing dinosaurs around. I don't know. So I changed my mind to the next best thing, and that was to become an aerospace engineer because I love drawing airplanes. And I thought it was that simple, that I could just draw an airplane and I'd hand it to a guy and they'd build it, and wow, like multi-millionaire right there, right? And so I had a stack of pictures of airplanes, and so I was all set. I was ready. Then I got to high school, and reality kind of started to set in. I still was going to be an aerospace engineer. I applied for some colleges, got accepted. Junior year, I'm off to Embry-Riddle, gonna go, and I got cold feet. And I'm like, I just don't think this is what I want to do the rest of my life. I don't think I want to sit in front of a drafting board and work on one small piece of an airplane. What do I do? And I'm really close to my family, small town in Illinois, 5,000 people. And so I decided, this is what I tell kids, I decided to go into the one field that every child dreams of doing. And this is usually where your audience would say, you want to be an author. No, that's not what I decided. I went into marketing. Everybody wants to do marketing, right? No. No, not at all. But what marketing does is it's everywhere. I tell kids, look at your shoes, there's a logo. Look at your shirt, there's a logo. Look at that toy you like, that brand, that series. Everything is logos, everything is marketing, everything is brand. And so that's actually what I went to school for, was marketing and brand and not science. So we're fast forwarding quickly through this, so we're not taking the 3 hours, we're taking the 4-minute study right here on who I am. And interrupt me if I'm going too long, of course. But I ended up, met a wonderful woman, and we got married, and she challenged me to read some books. And so we read that book series together, like, wow, there's like this whole world here of writing, there's characters you can build. And so I wrote a book. Like, anybody might think I could do this if, whatever. I wrote it, I've got it over here on my shelf, published 3 copies, one for her, one for me, one for my mom and dad, yay. And then that was like 2000, that was like 2005, 2006. Okay, so I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm getting ready to graduate college, and this book is sitting on my shelf. So I actually worked for a small company in Peoria, Illinois, and in marketing, like what I was planning on doing. And still to this day, I can't tell you when I applied for the job. I don't know when I applied for the job. I don't even remember applying for the job. I got a phone call from somebody that focuses on the family in IT, and she goes, "We saw your application, and we'd like you to interview for this role." I'm like, "What? IT?"
どれくらい待った？
まずないよ。
あ
3分。
あ、2、3分。で、ちょうどよかったね。サンドイッチは食べた？
全部食べた。
あ、腹減ってる。
うまかったよ。
タコ、サワークリームに乗せたら辛くなくなったから食べれるから作っといたから、
ああ、ほんと。
家に帰ったら食べたらいい。
前のやつは辛くて。
ああ、もう一個食べたの？
全部食べた。
あ、タコ。
え？
タコは？
タコは食べたよ。
あ、全部食べれた。
辛かったけど。
今日白馬の先生。
そう。
サウナ入ったの？
サウナ入ったよ。シャワー浴びて。
ロックも使えた？
え？
ロック。
使えるよ。いつも使ってるもん。
どうだった今日はエクササイズ？
人が多いよ。
あ、今日多かった。タコ作ってあるからもう。
あ、そう。
うん。
辛い。
いや何サワークリーム入ったから
ああ、
辛くないよ。ちょうどいい。
ああ。
知ってる人今日いたの？
いるよ。
あ
4、5人いたよ。
あ、向こうから来てる人が。
あクーラー入ってるよ。
入ってるよ。今入れ。時計動いてる？ちゃんと。
動いてるよ。巻いてるもん。
ああ。結構いい時計でしょ。
夜が電気がつかないからちょっと不便だよね。
あ
This is John MacArthur praying you're continuing to be portraits of grace. The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Hi, my name's Neil. I have some advice for you if you've been trying to break free from credit card debt. You can start by doing what I did. Get your bills together and call Trinity Debt Management. Trinity is dedicated to helping people like me become debt-free. When I called, my first experience was a feeling of relief. My counselor was kind, and best of all, she didn't judge me. In just a few minutes, she helped me figure out a plan that consolidated all my bills into one lower monthly payment. This substantially reduced my high interest rates and put me on the road to success. In the end, I saved thousands in interest, and today, my credit card debt is a thing of the past.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-788-1813.
My name is Neil. Take it from someone who's been there. Call Trinity and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-788-1813.
Bear Bryant was the legendary football coach at the University of Alabama for many years. When one of his players was named as an All-American, Bryant was asked if he was disappointed that only one player was selected, and his answer was yes. He said his goal for his players was teamwork. Either all the players should be All-Americans or none should be. What Bear Bryant called teamwork, the New Testament calls unity. As Christians, we rejoice as a body and we weep as a body together. Our goal is to glorify only one person, the head of the body, Jesus Christ. This is David Jeremiah encouraging you to get on the road to new life. Discover God's plan for unity in the church on Route 66.
Route 66, driving the word home. Log on to Route66Life.com. Start your journey home today.
Good Day by Forrest Frank. I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. I'm having a great day talking to Dr. Fizzlebob here. And speaking of Forrest Frank, I don't know if you saw, but he has been posting a series of videos about how he broke his back on a skateboard. Now, I have to say, the nurse in me saw no shoes, no helmet, so good reminder for all of those safety reminders, but we certainly wish him well. He fractured his vertebrae, and he is even just sharing good vibes and good day and good hope, even from his bed. He's been writing a song called God's Got My Back while his back is broken. It is hilarious and touching and inspiring, so I encourage you to lift him and his family up in prayer. But today we're talking about what you get when you mix the love for God, storytelling, and science. Well, you get Dr. Phineas Einstein Fizzlebob and the real-life dad behind him, who you just heard his story, Brock Eastman. He is the creator of Fizzlebob Labs and author of dozens of books that help families grow in faith while exploring the world around them. And with the help of his 4 kids and a whole lot of fizz, Brock is lighting up imaginations and turning family time into discovery time. And Brock, just behind the scenes here during the break, you and I were chatting about the importance of presence during family time, because we're so distracted. And you were talking about even listening to my show last week and talking about that phenomenon of us being distracted, especially by our screens. And I think it's so inspiring, especially to hear you as a dad talking about being intentional in your presence. And so what do you see in your own life as a dad, and how do you leverage that in giving tools to other families to engage with their kids in fun science experiments?
No, that's great. You know, and like I said, I was listening to your interview for a few days ago that you talked about the subject, and it really just hit me because, you know, we were at the conference we were at together. We were in that. I do 2 tracks. I do the Fizzlebob track for the kids, and I do the fun experiments. And we do things and make things blow up and all kinds of fun, exciting stuff, and connect it to our faith. And then I also talk to parents about what is Gen Alpha, who are they, and what do they need from us, and how do we connect with them? As a dad of Gen Alpha, my oldest will argue she's a Gen Zalpha, which is a Gen Z.
I love it.
Yeah. She's really a Gen Z, but she has all Alpha brothers and sisters, right? So she is a Gen, I call her Gen Alpha. She says she's a Gen Alpha, but anyhow, I tell you that because, you know, these kids, and we can go into this, they, you know, we don't like talking about COVID and the pandemic. We try to put that in our past, rearview mirror, as much as we can, and move past it. But it was such a significant time on these kids, and all the research I've done on this. And by the way, my wife just got her master's degree in counseling. She's the smart one in the family. I'm going to say that. So some of what I'm going to tell you are things she has told me, and I have learned through osmosis, and I'm going to be putting back out her words in Fizzlebob form. But I you know, these kids in the pandemic, kids who we go to a school called a classical school, which means there's no digital devices in the school at all. Our kids do not have screen time learning. It doesn't exist. So when COVID hit, we had to rush out and buy iPads so they could learn remotely. We're like, what is this? How do we do this? And so as a family who didn't do it, it was a big shift for us to have our kids suddenly on screens all the time. And there's a lot of science. I'm going to mess with his name, Jonathan Haidt, I think is his name. I forget the ancient generation. As he talks about these kind of devices and how they're impacting kids in ways. Well, COVID was this year where all of a sudden everybody was forced to go on technology, but not just go on technology, but be on technology on a regular basis for everyday things that they usually couldn't, right? And this really it's not just the screen time, it's the separation of these kids from their friends. It's taking them out of communities. It's taking them away from in-person time with trusted adults as teachers, right? As we had to go home and spend all our time in a digital format, right, in interaction, we lost that physical, tangible interaction that you have with people. Even right now on Zoom with you, I can't fully read your body language and your personality and how you're interacting with me. In person, that's different, right? You can see so much more, you can experience so much more, there's this sense, this feel. And I feel as though that is what has impacted these kids. So I tell you that because my little guy, Declan, when growing up, he was always around us, and I had my phone, I had my smartphone, but I didn't notice how it was impacting him until he got a little bit older. And the story I was sharing with is that I have realized now that the moment I picked up let's say he comes into my office, he's talking to me, the moment that my text goes off, so I go to respond to it, because I think, okay, I can respond quick, he just shuts down. His face, his demeanor, it all drops, he walks away. If he tries to be talking to me, within seconds, like, you're not listening to me, Dad. You're not really listening to me. And it just, you feel this brokenness, this is crushed. And as a dad, I don't want to do that to my children. I don't want that. And I'm not trying to guilt any parents out there listening to me right now. I'm talking from a very personal experience. And that's very important because you probably have had it happen to you and maybe didn't realize it. Your kids begin to no longer come and talk to you, ask you questions, because they know that this is more important to them. Your phone is more important. You're going to pick it up and respond to it without listening to them. And you're not really there. And I just find that so, I'll let you add to that, but I find that so disheartening and sad. And my family tries to focus a bit more on being less device free, like being more device free, but there are a lot of families that aren't that way at all. Like devices are the center of their world. So I'm seeing just a little bit of that, and I can only imagine what that is on an expanded scale with more and more kids.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that so transparently because it is a common struggle. And to hear someone call it out and to say, even the observations you had, that it changes his demeanor. And that's what we see. And I was sharing with you from a scientific perspective, and I've talked about this on my show before, we call it phubbing. PHUBBING, phone snubbing. And there you can go to the scientific literature and you can look and see the impact it has on our kids. It impacts their level of respect for us. It shifts the authority dynamic. It makes them have indigestion when they see the presence of the phone because their anxiety increases, knowing that they don't have that connection that they need. I mean, we're talking about some really convicting stuff, Brock, and I think as collective parents of Gen Alpha and Gen Z, we all struggle with that. And so I think just acknowledging it, naming and claiming it is important. But the thing that I really appreciate about your platform is that I'm not all about, doom and gloom and, just always conviction and limiting screen time and being the phone police. We've got to provide a compelling alternative. We have got to engage our kids. It's not just, okay, get off your phone. We've all gotten off our phone. Well, now what? And I think the now what that you bring is fun in science. So tell us about, I have to read this again, Dr. Phineas Einstein Fizzlebob. Tell us about that and how you make science fun and what tools parents might have to engage in learning with their kids and something that is in person and that is about science and learning, but also ultimately points their faith back to the one who created science.
Yeah, no, wait, okay, you hit on so many things because I was just at a homeschool conference and doing a big thing, and I start with that kind of talk about here's Gen Alpha, here's the challenges we have as parents trying to, because our heart is to minister that, right? We want, and maybe we're a little bit over the top, like we are spread more thin than maybe our parents were because we want to be at everything all the time, like we want to win at this parenting thing really well. And I've got 4 kids, like you have 4 kids, and that, we're not playing man on man anymore, we're playing zone defense, right? And they're all in things. We don't want them to be held back. We want them to be able to experience the things they want to as an individual, as opposed to, you can't do that because this one's doing that. Like, we don't want that, so we work harder. We work harder to that. Yeah, you're raising your hand, And so, but what I find with that intentionality is then the gaps we have between all the craziness and business that exists is taken up by this device or something like that. And so your question is, when let's say we have that device time, we're like, okay, we're gonna put that away. We're gonna spend time. What does that look like? What do we do? That in itself can become overwhelming because as parents who want to be involved in everything, we want to do stuff great. It's like 15 minutes. What's going to be amazing? How can I compete with the things they're used to? Watching YouTube or listening to music or their friend. How can I compete as a parent? I'm just not cool enough for that. That's the challenge. And so one of the things I talked about my parenting talk is a lot about story time. Okay, so I'll go into the science too here, but story time, having intentional time with our kids. One thing my wife did in our family was she loves to read. I told you I did not. She loves to read. All of our kids are voracious readers. And that's because when they're very little, and I would challenge parents right now to listen to this, and I'm not saying like just babies, up to 7, 8, 9, 10, I still do read aloud with Declan. Have intentional read alouds with your kids. A chapter book, a chapter a night, anything like that. Engage with them. You don't have to do any work. All you gotta do is read it. If you can't make funny voices, that's okay. If you try, they'll think it's even better. But to create that connection with your kids, you mentioned earlier the trust. Having trust with kids, right? You're only going to get trust and relation with kids when you spend time with them. When you spend time doing something with them, interacting with them. You mentioned off mic when we were talking earlier about playing games with your kids, right? We love playing games as a family, whether it be Skip-Bo or you mentioned Monopoly Deal, one of our favorites. Just laughing and spending time. Those are not high-tech, crazy, fancy things. That's me grabbing a chapter book and reading a chapter to them, or taking a picture book and looking at a few spreads together every night before bed. That's grabbing a card game that's already done for me and just playing a couple rounds. And those moments of times of interaction have been our best for laughter, for asking basic questions about like, how'd school go today? We're just playing our game together.